Hello, and welcome to this special episode of Things That Matter with me, Martie McNabb. Um, it has been over 3 years, about 3.5 years, that I have been hosting this podcast and this YouTube channel. And one of the things that I realize I really haven't done is to share the things that I keep, the things that matter, the things that I will leave behind. And I haven't told those stories. So I am calling this Martifacts, Artifacts with Martie, or Martifacts. And though it's not going to be a regular part of my podcast and my YouTube channel specifically, I am going to start in 2026, the spring of 2026, doing regular lives where I come on and talk and bring things that matter to me and share their stories. And I will be inviting other guests. So it's going to be Martifacts and other things that matter. And thinking about twice a month, maybe one that's devoted to just my things, my stuff, and my stories, and then having another one where I invite a guest or two or five, I don't know, who can join me and share the stories of the things that matter to them. So, the first thing I want to share is I came across this pin and I thought it was just so perfect for me. There is a bit of magic in everything. I I have been hosting my in-person and virtual events for well over a decade, could be 13 years now. I started in the back room of my friend's um, music venue bar called Branded Saloon, that I am happy to say is still around and kicking. And I'm so grateful to Gerard, my friend, for taking a chance on me and these events that are reminiscent of elementary school show and tell. And and yeah, I went there on off hours, when it wasn't the music wasn't, that's a late night thing. And so did this around dinner times and invited people to bring objects and share stories. So in over 400 events, both in person and virtual, I have never tired of hearing the stories of the things that we surround ourselves with, we adorn ourselves with, the things that, as I often say, our homes are like our personal museums. We are always curating, we are always choosing or inheriting. Needless to say, a lot of inheriting sometimes. And we have lots of stuff from our loved ones that we aren't always sure we can keep, we want to keep, and what do you do with them, right? So, anyway, this is one thing that matters to me just because it speaks so much to what I love. And I'm going to share one more thing on this. So, um, as some of you who have been following along know, um, about 8 years ago or 9 years ago, I sold my apartment in Brooklyn, Prospect Heights, Brooklyn, near where Branded Saloon was, right around the corner from me. I sold that place after living in that home, in that apartment for 18 years. So a total of 28 years in New York City. I remember going there, and I had never lived in a city ever in my life. I'd always been a country or small town gal. So it was an amazing experience. And maybe I'll share with you why I chose New York City after all those years. But when I realized that it was just getting harder and harder to live in New York City, more and more expensive, and though I love what I do, what I did with my first business, and I'll tell you more about that at some point, Memories Out of the Box, is my personal history or legacy artistry but business, is that even though I was considered one of the more successful in personal historians or legacy artists, it still was difficult to bring in a consistent, significant income. And so there was kind of a perfect storm of things happening, like my appliances slowly dying, and me realizing I am getting older and there's no way that my fourth floor walk up is going to be a first floor walk in. There was no way to that was going to be moving down, or that there was going to be an elevator put in, and it was just getting more and more costly to live in New York City. I had loved Brooklyn so much. So anyway, everything led to me deciding that I needed to move on. I needed to figure out what was next, what next adventure, where was I going to move to next? And after living in New York City, as anyone who has lived there or knows somebody, it's hard to leave because everything's there. There's just so much life and so many people and so much energy and wonderful people and culture and food and experiences, and I just love every minute of it. Um, but so I was like, what am I going to do? Where am I going next? And how can I figure it out? And so that's when I became familiar with the whole van life community. And not that I was thinking I wanted to become a full-time van lifer, but I thought, wouldn't that be a wonderful way to explore the country and to get a sense of what was out there, and what area and what city, what place would I feel could be my next home? Where could I find my next home? And I thought, it's hard to do that when you just go for like a short visit. So what if I get a van and I travel and I set up, you know, my life there. I find a place to, park a state park, a federal a city park, a national park near this place, and or even a private park, of course, and give myself a couple of months to really get a sense of whether it's a place that I see myself moving to next. And that's when I got the idea of getting my van. And of course, next, that's when I knew I needed to name my van Brooklyn. And I'll put a picture of Brooklyn up. And so I can say I'm still living in Brooklyn. And it just made perfect sense because I could not have afforded her if I hadn't sold my apartment in Brooklyn and made this next jump, this leap of faith to what's next. But so I'll show you that picture. But one last thing, when I was getting ready to leave, to pick up my van and to start my adventure, I had friends being so nervous about me hitting the road as a single woman, which I was then, and to figure out, like I was going to travel the country by myself, and everybody was like, "You have to have a companion. Why don't you have get a dog?" I think it was mainly a dog. I don't know, but they were like, "You have to have a travel companion. You have to have a travel companion." And of course, growing up with a mom who is much more fond of animals than she is of people, um, I knew that if I had a travel companion, an animal, that all my mother would be thinking about And of course, I would too. But my mom would be constantly calling me and texting me and wondering, how's my travel companion? How are they doing? And be nervous about it. And I would be nervous about it. So, needless to say, my mom has a little anxiety. I do too, obviously. And I thought, oh my God, I would be worried all the time about my travel companion. And it just so happened that I got a box of wonderful gifts and wonderful things from my favorite small business called Blue Q out of Western Massachusetts, out of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, where that was the ninth move of my childhood and the final move as a child of that was moving because my parents moved. So this was the ninth move when I moved to Dalton, Massachusetts. Well, actually Cummington. And I found this sweet place, this sweet company that I don't think has a retail store, but they put have gifts that are just hysterical and funny. And I just bought some this year, and they do amazing jobs with their boxes, and they always throw in cute things and funny things that delight you, right? And they just so happen that time, 8 years ago, to send a box that inside of it was this big piece of paper with a cutout of a cat. And one of the statements of one of the people that started this was that their father or grandfather or somebody had said, the only good cat is a flat cat. Well, needless to say, that's exactly what my stepfather said before he met my mom and fell in love with one of her cats named Mama Kitty, who just loved Jim and had to sit on his lap all the time. So anyway, I got a kick out of the joke. It reminded me of my stepdad, Jim, who had passed away. And I just delighted in this idea of here's the solution to my travel companion. That everybody said I needed to have, but I wouldn't have to worry about, is it too hot? Is it too cold? Do they have water? Do they have food? Like, what's going on with them? Because when you travel the country, especially if you're in Texas, you find out that there are no trees in parking lots. So you can go a lot of places and not find any shade. And so you have to be very careful. So anyway, I ended up, and there you go. I ended up cutting her out and putting her on actually the box from Blue Q. In this point, they actually end up saying sending it in a priority. But this is the stuff, the stickers and fun things that they send. But yeah, I ended up putting her on the cardboard box and then laminating her, and and then asking friends for a name. What should I name her? And my wife came up with the idea of Flatsy the Flat Cat. So this is Flatsy, Flatsy the Flat Cat, and she has traveled at this point probably 135,000 miles across the country. So this is a thing that matters to me. And I keep her, and I have to take her out of the window when it gets really super hot, which it can do on my travels. But she brings me a lot of joy. And needless to say, on the last couple of trips across the country, we've had Flatsy the Flat Cat and my mom's Bella the Fat Cat, who's traveled across. So anyway, this is just the start of Martifacts and other things that matter. And I hope for a change you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the things that I keep the things that matter and the things that I'll leave behind. And I hope once I start going live, you'll join me for them. And maybe on the things that matter, the other things that matter, you'll decide to join me and share the story of some of the things that you keep and that matter to you. I'll look forward to it. Thanks, everyone, for listening to this unusual episode of Things That Matter with Martie McNabb. I wish you well. Take good care.